Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Kura Sushi. And as we can see, this stock recently plummeted from about $82 per share to less than $60 per share. So it could present a good buying opportunity at the current share price. We can see that the S&P 500 is up 26% over the last year. So they're outperforming Kura Sushi. But yeah, basically, let's just get into why this happened and then also look at their recent earnings results for the first and second quarter of fiscal year 2024. So as you can see right here by their website, Kura Sushi is basically a restaurant chain that has sushi that revolves around the restaurant on these color-coded plates, and customers can select which plates they want from the conveyor belt, and then they know how much they cost based on the color of the plate. So it's a very simple, interesting concept that has recently attracted a lot of attention from customers. But the stock also plummeted 25% because of disappointing news regarding the expected results for the fiscal third quarter. The lower than expected preliminary financial results for the fiscal third quarter were due to unanticipated softness in the newly opened restaurants in the California market. So basically, they opened up new restaurants in California and they didn't do too well. And as a result, they said that the revenue they predict for the third quarter is less than they had initially expected, which is what ended up causing this sharp decline in their stock price. But we can see that these declines are pretty standard for Kura Sushi in the past. They've had a pattern of these increases and declines in their stock price. So if they are able to increase back up to their $115 all-time high or higher, then that could be more than a 100% increase from the current share price. So it could mean that Kura Sushi is presenting a good buying opportunity right now if the market is having a little bit of an overreaction. So right here we can see their income statement results for the first and second quarter of fiscal year 2024. We can see sales are up from 39 billion to 51 billion. That's an increase of about 30%. And then we can also see they had a net loss of about $2 million. So this is obviously not that good news. You'd like to see that a company is profitable, but that being said, food and beverage costs made up a smaller percentage of their overall sales this year than last year. This year, they only made up about 30% of sales, whereas last year they made up 32% of sales. And that decline came mainly from increased menu prices and improved supply chain efficiency. So hopefully, as Kura Sushi grows their business and continues to open more restaurants, they opened 4 new restaurants in the first quarter and 5 new restaurants in the second quarter. And hopefully, they'll be able to increase their supply chain efficiency and improve their profit margins even more. Lastly, we can see right here their second quarter results for sales increased also by about 30% from 44 million to 57 million. And then we can see they had a net loss of about $1 million for each of the second quarters. Now we can see this relative valuation model that I put together to try to calculate the intrinsic value per share for Kura Sushi. They had price to earnings ratio of about $400 or about 400 times earnings, price to sales ratio of 3 times earnings, and price to book value ratio of about 4 times book value. And I'm comparing them to Arcos Dorados, which is a company that owns a lot of McDonald's franchises, comparing them to Chipotle and then McDonald's themselves. And we can see that for these 3 companies, their main competitors here, the average PE, PS, and PB ratio was about 30 times earnings, 5 times sales, and 8 times book value. So based on that, you can see the estimated intrinsic value for Kura Sushi down here. We can see that intrinsic value based on PE valuation was about 4 times earnings. Based on PS valuation, it was about, or not 4 times earnings, but $4 per share. Based on a PS valuation, it was about $95 per share, and then price to book valuation, about $137 per share. That's a pretty big range from $4 to $137 per share. But Kura Sushi does fall within that range at $59 per share. So if they're able to increase back up to either $115 per share or $95 per share or $137 per share, then that could be a pretty big increase for Kura Sushi, and it could present a good buying opportunity at the current share price. Now I'm doing an industry analysis comparing Kura Sushi to 2 of their main competitors, Chipotle and McDonald's here. Based on this, just solely on profit margins, it looks like Kura Sushi is doing the worst out of the 3 companies. That being said, Chipotle and McDonald's are obviously massive, whereas Kura Sushi has a market cap of about $600 million. So although their business may not be more established at the moment, they do have a lot more room to grow. You can see they were founded only in 2008. So hopefully they do grow a lot more, because if they do, then they'd end up producing very good returns for shareholders. Lastly, I wanted to compare Kura Sushi to other companies we've looked at in past videos. Based on the DCF model, I can't add them to this list because we didn't use a DCF model for Kura Sushi. Based on growth rate, they also had negative free cash flow growth. So they don't show up on the free cash flow growth rate table, but you can see the companies that produce the best results here. Same thing for dividend yield, since Kura Sushi doesn't really pay a dividend. Then we can also see that for gross profit and net profit, that Kura Sushi basically had 15% gross profit and less than 1% net profit here. So they don't show up on the profit margin tables. But for year-over-year revenue and earnings growth, it looks like Kura Sushi has historically been doing some of the best out of the companies we've seen. We can see they show up on the revenue and earnings table for Q2, Q3 here, and then also on the revenue table for Q4 and Q1. So they are one of the better performing growth rate or earnings and revenue growth tables out of the other companies we've looked at in the past 4 quarters. Lastly, for stock performance over the last 5 years, I wanted to compare them to other companies. It looks like they're up about 300% over the last 5 years, putting them in 8th place. NVIDIA holds the #1 spot at 3,000%. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of Kura Sushi. Is it a buy at the current share price? Obviously, it's plummeted quite a bit, so if it is an overreaction, then it could present a good buying opportunity. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see everyone in the next one.